Back and I'm better than ever. I think I got a vendetta. Oh, now they call me, I see.
Guys, today we're at Sailfish Spray. I have the opportunity to do a podcast with C3 owner Casey Caudill. We're heading into the office now. We are going to jump right into things.
That's been a game changer, though, for not only me. I know thousands of other guys. You're never too good to not coach or not be coachable. If you have the right equipment, if you have an 8 or 10 gallon and a mini Mondo, you could do a driveway in 7 minutes.
It's not what you gross, it's what you net.
We talk about sales. Colt 45, 2 6 days, baby, that's all we need. My advice, flip it around. Have some fun with it.
All right, you guys, today I have an awesome opportunity to sit down with Casey Caudill for a Clean Money podcast. He's the owner of a few successful service businesses, but is well known for his recent endeavor, C3 Skids. He's making waves in the industry with his top-of-the-line custom builds. If you want a trailer, a skid, a van, a flatbed, or anything in between, check out c3skids.com. They're your one-stop shop. I'll link their website down in the video description. These guys can literally bring your dream rig to fruition. The goal for this podcast today with Casey is, number one, to hear his story as a 7-figure earner. And 2, more importantly, you guys, as always, I want to bring you as much value and knowledge as possible so you can apply it to your small business and it can help you grow. We'll jump straight in to the first question. Just going to get people familiar with C3 Skids. Maybe they're newer to the industry, haven't heard of you guys yet. When was the idea of C3 Skids born, and what are some of the biggest challenges you've faced in the new side of the wash industry?
Always had the drive of wanting to, use wrenches and, grew up in the racing world. So, being able to fix problems on my own was really easy for me. Starting the power washing company that I still have now back in 2016 was purchasing all my equipment from another vendor. It really took me till 2021 before I realized I could do this a lot cheaper and also make it more durable, affordable, and have fun doing it as well. So in mid-2021, I decided to start C3 Skids R&D cycle, and we went through that for about 8 months actually before we launched January of 2022. And since then, we've grown tremendously, but there's also been a lot of big obstacles that we've had to overcome.
I could imagine.
Our main goal has been affordable equipment, durable, easy to work on. The core values that we've built and started C3 with, we continue to keep pushing that and stay behind our word.
Just for context, you guys, Casey is just not a random business guy that decided to get into this industry. He is built up a 7-figure wash business in the service side. So he didn't just come into this blindly. He knew the problems that us washers have all the time. Like you said, 12-volt systems, you have the swappable, you're back down and back up on the roof in under 2 minutes.
Yep.
Everything that he builds is for the washer. Just like JR, you have the experience, so you know what we need. You know what the washer needs on his skid. So with that said, give us some of the biggest challenges from the beginning of C3 until now. What's something that has set you back and you had to overcome in a big way?
Coming from, the power washing industry, the service side of it, you're used to getting those checks day in and day out. Every day you're bringing home checks. Compared to the building, it was completely different for me. The manufacturing side, everything, you might get a check, on a Monday whenever you sell skid for 20, 30 grand. Managing your money through that time period of the next time you sold a skid, which sometimes could be a week, sometimes it could be the next day. It's a real hit and miss sometimes, especially with the seasons. The seasons affect us just as they do as washers. If you guys are slow, you're not buying skids. So that means we're not building as many. So money management was a real issue for the first really over 12 to 16 months. Finding a good rhythm of, making sure paying the vendors on time, making sure that we're staying on top of our cash flow and not overspending it too quickly and then being stuck low on cash in the bank. So it was definitely an obstacle. a lot of people don't see that, the behind the scenes stuff. But I mean, it happens to all of us. There's 7-figure businesses out there that still struggle with that problems. And it's part of life. If we can't sit here and be vulnerable and talk about it, then, we're puppets back here. So, it's real life though. It happens to the best of us. It happens to the worst of us. It happens to everybody. It's just how you're going to overcome and be better. But I mean, money management was a huge issue at first, just knowing how to use the money properly and where to put it.
I could imagine, man. And I like that you brought up the not getting a check every day like us washers are used to, because in my eyes, it can make you unresponsible with your money management, because it's like you go drop a few grand, but you're like, oh, I'm going to recoup it in a couple of days. You have that guaranteed check, even if someone cancels, you got way more in the pipeline. And it reminds me of commercial work. Like, I don't dabble in commercial work. I know you do with the wash business, but it's always a reminder to me, and I'm sure these guys can relate if they're doing mainly residential, a little bit of commercial. Sometimes you're not seeing that check for 60 days.
Yeah.
It's like so many times I'll forget about it. And luckily I've prepared enough where I'm not relying on that check, but you can forget about that check. And now your new endeavor, that's all you're going through. So I can imagine it's a learning curve.
Yeah, I agree. And like you said, the commercial jobs and, still having a wash business, I rely on our everyday residential jobs to pay the bills, which is nice. One thing I did is I put all the commercial accounts on its own CRM, to where when I see the day to day, I don't see that I'm owed X amount, 60, 70, $80,000. So it doesn't freak me out, and it really throws off numbers sometimes. So, but we're also we're over 50% commercial work on my wash business now. So, most of the time we see that whenever we're owed that much money, sometimes we'll even spend it sooner than we get it, which I had a problem with as well. So, managing that money, keeping it aside and keeping it separate to where I can't even see it. And sometimes I don't even see the money come in, which is nice. It's all about having the right people in place to help keep you accountable as well. The right office staff, the right office managers, and, having somebody holding you accountable to not spending that money before it even comes in is nice. Because sometimes on a commercial job, it could be a net 60, but in reality, they're actually net 90 because their billing cycle sucks, or the check gets lost in the mail. Yeah, we've had that happen quite a few times and it puts us in a pickle because we already spent the money. So that's one thing I liked about putting the commercial accounts in a separate CRM. I can't see it every day. It's almost, free money whenever we get it, but still gets put away.
Talking about the money management side of things, what would you recommend to someone that is bad with money management? Maybe their wash business is picking up. They're kind of making more than they're used to. What would you recommend they do with their first good chunk of money? How would you recommend on the washing side?
Every situation is going to, be different, and, what your everyday bills are. Some people pay everything cash, their equipment, their trucks, everything's paid for, where others, my business sense is I kind of finance everything and I pay the monthly payment. There's a couple good books out there. Profit First. I read Profit First years ago, and I actually reread it because I used to implement it and I stopped, and I realized, how much better off I was before whenever I was actually reading or following the book and the program. But the Profit First is a really good way. I use that with C3 now, and it's really helped gain our success and and our profits. And how we use our money and where we use it and when to use it. So yeah, if you guys haven't read the Profit First, I would suggest reading it, but you guys got to follow through. You guys have to implement. That's been a game changer though, for not only me, I know thousands of other guys that have used that and had great success with it.
Thank you, man. That's a good recommendation, because I know me and JR talked about this, but this industry is a lot of people's first endeavors, like myself, because it's a cheap startup business. You can go get a couple $1,000s worth of equipment, and now you're a pressure washer all of a sudden. So just like myself, I speak from experience. the business background, the money management, the CRM management, all that stuff didn't come natural as compared to a lot of higher end businesses. People just invest and kind of already have blueprints to success, at least a better shot than someone just going into a random business. So it's good that you're covering some fundamentals for the money management, because it's not first nature for a lot of people in this industry. So as someone who has owned a few businesses, you had the pressure washing, you had a pest control, right?
Yeah, I still have a pest control, pool cleaning, power washing, C3. Started and sold over 24 companies in the last 12 years. So, there's been also a handful of companies I've started and just closed down because, it wasn't working for me, or lost interest. Some people see that. They say, oh, Casey started another company. The thing about Casey is Casey would be on his deathbed one day and I'll never regret not doing something. So that's one thing that's different about me than other people. I'm willing to try, just like I did the $99 guy power washing company. I don't know if you saw that, but we tried it. It actually halfway worked. We were never negative. And the business plan could work in certain areas of the country, but other areas it could not. It worked where we are because we're full of HOAs, where we go in one neighborhood and we could do 10 houses in a day. Yeah. And all of a sudden we're doing $2,000 out of one truck, one guy. It's pretty easy if you have the right equipment as well and marketing plans. So, I've done the floor coatings. I've done the apparel company. I've done it all. I've tried it all. Right now I'm focused on, there's 100% of Casey. About 85% of it goes to C3 right now. So try to zone in on one thing and focus on what you're really good at. There's a lot of guys that are starting to really branch off and do other things. But the problem is it's still just them in one truck, but they're trying to do power washing, Christmas lights, landscaping, and before they master one, or they don't grow and add a second truck to do it. So they're still doing the same $25,000 a month, but all they're doing is they're just diverting it and creating more headaches, really. So, my biggest advice to everybody out there is zone in on that one thing, focus on it, get good at it, build it to $1 million if you can, and then branch off and do the next thing. If you're comfortable being an owner, investor at 500,000, a year in revenue, then go ahead and branch off and do something else if you guys want. Or if you're closed down for for the winter time for Christmas lights, then do Christmas lights. But here in Florida, if you're going to stop your wash business to do Christmas lights, in my opinion, you're kind of leaving your money on the table at power washing, because we wash year round. So really just zone in on what you're good at, focus on it, and go all in.
Yeah, I like that, man. I like doing these podcasts with these guys like Casey, JR, because I want to bring this value to you guys, but at the same time, don't get it confused. I'm asking these questions because I like picking the brains of people that are where I want my business to be. So it's nice to get information from you guys, and all I'm doing is sharing it through the lens with an audience, like-minded people that want to see the same thing. But you kind of touched base on this third question. We kind of just went over that, but I'll ask again. Maybe you have some more advice. As a seven-figure earner, what are some non-negotiable fundamentals you've carried from one business to the next?
Self-confidence. Self-confidence is huge. I'm very confident in myself. And that's just my personality and how I've grown up and how I've approached every situation. When I started C3, I had a lot of confidence. I knew that I had a product that was going to be able to sell. We've doubled every year for the last 3 years. This is our third year in business. The confidence level and putting my money where my mouth is and making the equipment actually work in field and, following through with what I say I'm going to do has really been huge. So, self-confidence may seem vulnerable, but in reality, it's what's gotten me to this point. I'm confident in myself. You need to be able to invest in yourself. And if you're not willing to invest in yourself, then you're just a number at a corporate office, in my opinion. So self-confidence, invest in yourself. Those are the two key things I say about my life. I put that in my kids as well. I carry that through them, through the family. They need to be confident, even as, 8 and 10-year-olds, they need to be confident in themselves. So, not having to, not depending on anyone has been huge. I have a business coach, and I like to coach others as well, but having a business coach and holding you accountable and help push you and make sure that you're staying on top has been a huge success. I've had a business coach for 5 years now, so that's a big thing. Whether you guys have mentors, business coaches, you guys need to have somebody to be able to bounce your ideas off of, as well as somebody to hold you accountable for. Yeah. So the richest, best business people in the world still have business coaches. You never have too much coaching. Yeah, absolutely. And you're never too good to not coach or not be coachable.
I see a lot of people, and I've done it myself, where you don't want to take in the value and the knowledge from certain people, whether they're a coach or not. Just the mindset of not having of you have it figured out in that area, and you can't gain value from this guy for some reason. I started doing better in life and business when I love that you brought up confidence, because to some people it's like, oh, I could have low confidence and be a good businessman, but it really is a game changer. In a humble and cocky, and in a humble and non-cocky way, you can still be very confident. And when I realized that, it just made everything in business and life do better, because when we got into paver sealing, I was trying to sell jobs. I was at a fair market price. There was nothing really wrong with my approach other than my confidence. And I'm telling my buddy that did it at the time, I'm like, I'm not landing any of these jobs. And then I realized, like 6 months down the road, I just wasn't confident about the service I was selling. And then in 6 to 8 months, with the confidence of learning that trade and mastering, the customer can feel that.
They can.
You sound confident, like you know what you're doing and you're the best, that's what you want to look like to the customer. Mm-hmm. We're the top dog and you should hire us for these reasons. Of course, in your own sales pitch way, but just the confidence that's coming through you helps tremendously.
Yeah. Have you ever tested another salesperson's ability or their confidence at your own house?
No.
This is a fun one that I like to do. So, if I have a project that I want to do, sometimes I'll call 2 or 3 companies. Typically, which is crazy, some of them don't answer their phones, which is insane. But I want to test their confidence. I want to see what they have to say. So I needed blinds. I called 2 companies. I wanted to see. I tested them. I pushed them. If you guys know the DISC assessment, it goes over different personalities. I pushed their personalities and I pushed their buttons to try to test them and see how they're going to react on it. But it also sees it from another point of view. So you guys are always used to being the sales guy and trying to sell your work. My advice, flip it around. Have some fun with it. Call somebody out. If it's for a landscaping quote, exterior lighting, you want some landscape lighting, gutters, anything, just test it and see if you I've gotten pointers and I've gotten really great advice from other sales guys, local sales guys, that I've been able to take and give it to other people through our industry. And it's been a blessing, really. So have fun with it. We talk about sales. Don't make it so stressful and worried about selling the job. It should be natural for us to sell the job because we should be so confident in ourselves, our product, our branding, and our employees.
Absolutely.
Just go out there and be yourself. Just do it.
Yeah.
Don't be scared.
It's easier said than done, because like when you have your game plan of sales, especially a lot of you guys are newer, like you think it's this crazy approach you have to take. And at the end of the day, like you just said, being yourself, having fun with it, being confident all at the same time, it's this simple, but it takes a lot to learn to do it in front of a customer with your
It does.
whatever you're selling. I think that's the best way to land jobs is when people build that relationship with you right off the bat. They like you. Yeah, they have to believe in your product. But if they like you right away, you have a huge advantage over the next guy that's maybe just like reading bullet points. Hey, this is why we're the best.
People buy from who they like. Remember that.
Yep.
People buy from who they like.
Okay, we'll move on to the fourth question, you guys. Whether it's the retail or the service side of the business, what's some of your best advice for someone trying to make money in this industry?
Bounce back a little bit on confidence for sure. You know, you always got to have confidence in it. The retail side is a little bit tougher of a market than it is for, you know, the washing industry. Keeping track of the inventory and, you know, realistically, most of us are only making, you know, 20 to 30% on retail stuff, sometimes less. So compared to guys washing, you guys are making, if you're owner operator, you're making 90%. You know, we have some bleach, gas, you know, you don't have workers' comp. Your workers' comp exempt. So it's two completely different industries. And that's what I've really had to overcome, trying to figure out. Again, goes back to cash flow. It goes back to a lot of different obstacles that we've had to overcome, but manage your money, you know, don't get sidetracked. If you believe in your product, keep pushing, and, you know, you'll be successful no matter what, if it's retail or washing or any other industry.
To the washers, what would you say is your best advice for them to start making, to the new guy to start making money ASAP and making it consistently?
Watch podcasts, get on Facebook. Some of the groups have really great training programs, marketing ideas. Go to some of the events. Some of the events are trying to sell you too much stuff. There's other great events out there that you guys can go to that are completely free for contractors. Us as vendors actually go and set up, and we front the money to help cover the expenses for that reason, to help the washers come and get their continuing education and learn some great knowledge that they might not have known before. You know, but between that, there's great shows. Don't go crazy about investing money in your equipment. Most of the stuff could get upgraded and, you know, and built on later down the road. With not only our equipment, but other manufacturers as well. Yeah. We've all done a great job in the manufacturing industry to where we could add on to your unit later. If, you know, as you guys grow, you know, some people are going to tell you to throw all your money into marketing. Throw it all into marketing, and then you could buy the equipment later. You could start with something small. I would say kind of split it a little bit. I would not put as much money into marketing up front. I would try to get all your referral marketing, get your flyers, your business cards, your yard signs. Start putting out yard signs for sure. Facebook posts. I think most of our work is coming from online and Facebook right now. Switch it up a little bit, you know? So get your yard signs out there, get your flyers out there. Not that you have to do too much door to door, but every time you're at a job, you need to be hitting your 5 rounds. And that costs you nothing. How much did your flyer cost? 10 cents max. So referral marketing has been huge for my pest control company. We don't advertise any money, and we're a multi-million-dollar company there. We spend $0 on marketing. It's all referral marketing.
Yeah, you notice like every pest control company usually is doing quite a few houses in a row. There's a dude out there spraying, got the big logo on the truck. Mm-hmm. Next door neighbor sees it. And that could be the same thing with pressure washing.
It can be. So the biggest thing that really set my power washing company apart from other local companies is we've built our power washing company off of our pest control business model, which is contracts, renewable units. So right now, you know, if you want to sell your power washing company next month, you really don't have any good money coming in. You're chasing it every month, right? That's how most of you guys are thinking. Look at the pest control industry. The first of every month, we get to hit a button and run credit cards every month. Why can't we do that with power washing? We can. It's just switching your business model, getting renewable contracts, getting the contracts in place, and setting people on renewable units to where it's one less thing they have to deal with every year as well. Number one. Number two, I have a business I could sell. Yeah, exactly. I have renewable units and contracts in place. I could sell those units. Yeah. I could sell that. Yeah. just like my pest control company.
That's free game for you.
Yeah.
Coming from someone who has scaled multiple businesses. So he's not just spitballing ideas to you guys. This is free game that you guys can apply to your business. I want to touch on two things that you talked about. One, before I forget, the last thing you just talked about with the contracts. Your business, if it, a lot of people want to build a business to sell it. They want to make a good chunk, move on to their next endeavor. If you guys don't do contracts, and this is something I've been getting into, what you were just talking about, is setting up those reoccurring jobs, because someone looking to buy your business, the value is way down when they're like, hey, what's guaranteed next month? Oh, nothing. I know we'll get leads, but nothing's really guaranteed. We have maybe 5 contracts a year. That's automatically bringing the value of your business down to a buyer.
Yep.
That's great advice. And you guys, like you said, we can do what the pest control company does. You can do whatever you want in business, and truly trying different things all the time and not just trying to be the next guy that looks like he's doing good. Take those risks, try something else, try the contracts, do something that will separate you guys rather than just trying to fit in. I was telling JR about this, like the people I looked up to when I got into this business, like I didn't know JR for a long time, but I looked up to certain guys like, oh, it's a dope rig. I want to get my business to where he's at. And then in a few years, when I did that, I started realizing all these guys I was looking up to that, no offense to anybody, but their business isn't what you think it is.
Right.
And you get to their point and it's like, well, I followed his blueprints from what I can see from the outside, and it didn't really get me that far. So that's where it took a shift in me. I'm like, okay, I need to be doing something different than him. I need to be doing something that elevates my business above his, because now I don't want to really be where he's at. I want multiple trucks.
Yep. You want more.
And it's not going to happen by looking up to people that you thought were doing great. So
Yep.
I like that advice.
Yeah.
The free marketing stuff that I want to touch up on, what you were talking about, is critical in this day and age. Obviously, I do the social media stuff. I've landed, and this isn't the reason for YouTube to land leads and stuff, and I don't do Instagram. I do it to promote my brand. If anyone wants to check me out, they can see our credibility. And then I also do it to help new people in the industry, because I came in blind. No one wanted to help. So I'm like, I'll be that guy to help, because everyone else was like keeping a secret, Right. And there's more people helping. But what I'm getting at is building your brand from the beginning, you guys, it doesn't have to be a lot of money, but just focus on it right away.
Yep.
Like, people are like, oh, I don't need to wrap my truck. I'm busy. It's like, cool, but no one's going to see you and know who you are. Like, even if your pipeline's full with jobs because you paid for them, congrats.
Yep.
But you're not building a brand with your logo on it. Like, if someone drives by and sees my brand and my logo, I want them to know, because in the long run, that's going to be so critical to where they think of pressure washing. Rusty's pressure washing.
Right.
And by not wrapping your truck, not putting out signage, door hangers, you're just hurting yourself.
It's foolish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can do it, like Casey said, for free and for cheap. Especially with the internet, you can get a long way. It may not turn jobs right away. You might not get an instant return, but you have to shift your mindset to, what is this going to do for my company in a year or two from now?
Right.
Pushing your brand, pushing your videos that only get 20, 100 views. Who cares? Over the course of a year, 1, they are guaranteed to grow. And 2, whether you think 10,000 views, bare minimum in a year, you think that's low, that's 10,000 people. That's a stadium full of people that you just held your logo up.
Right. And everybody, looked at it and read it. Yep. The only other thing I was thinking is, the truck wrap was big. That's been huge for us. I would put, if I had X amount of money, I would rather put a truck wrap on compared to spending extra money on my equipment.
Yeah.
So you could always upgrade the equipment. Yeah, you could always upgrade and add your wrap later. But I mean, my pest control company, we have 8 trucks. People might think I have 30 sometimes, just because like, oh, I always see your truck. It's wrapped in the American flag. It's all about the branding. People see it and they're like, for us, American Services, they see the American theme and they'll never forget it. So,
Absolutely.
The branding is huge.
The number one question I see on the internet and people ask me in person is, oh, did it get you a good return? Did it land you jobs? I'm like, yeah, it has, but it's not my lead generation source.
Correct.
I'm not doing this to turn over leads tomorrow. It's branding.
Yep.
If I was guaranteed I would not land one job from my wrap, I'm still wrapping it.
Right.
You separate yourself tremendously. And like you said, it looks like you can have 8 wrapped trucks and it looks like you have 30. And now you look like the real freaking deal.
It's lasting years for the upfront investment of $3,000-$4,000 for a full wrap.
Correct.
High side $5,000 depending on where you are, but yeah, it's guaranteed branding.
Exactly. It elevates you so much more. But one thing before we move on, actually, I want to touch up on this. You were talking about upgrading the equipment as you go, and I want to talk about it because JR is back here behind the cameras. You guys, we kind of were on the opposite end. Because a lot of these, just to give you context, a lot of these YouTube and Facebook gurus that are selling courses, like you said, they say, "Oh, go put every dollar into marketing and use your little 2.5 GPM. It'll do the job for now." Me and JR sit on a side where we're kind of like, get that nice equipment now. So I want to hear your take because you're kind of saying, start with the lower stuff, which I did. But looking back, I would have just went finance some nice stuff right away. And it doesn't have to be my dream rig.
Right.
Stuff to be efficient is what I mean. So where do you think, at what point do you think someone should be like, okay, let me get these 210 GPMs on my trailer, this gas soft wash, so I can now start making my money way faster?
Yeah. So it's really going to come down to their initial budget. Of course, some people aren't going to want to finance. Some people aren't going to want to finance that much. I always try to push people to, at least get like an 8 GPM unit and then a 12 volt gas if they can. But the time difference that you're spending between like a 4 GPM and an 8 GPM, you're going to be able to quadruple your workload in the matter of a day, just because, on a 4 gallon per minute machine, how long is it going to take you to do a driveway? 30, 40 minutes. Yeah. If you have the right equipment, if you have an 8 or 10 gallon and a mini Mondo, you could do a driveway in 7 minutes. Yeah. So it's a huge, if you're confident in yourself, going back to that, if you're confident in yourself that you could grow your brand and you can market to the right clients and get the work lined up, go ahead and invest your money now for sure. Yeah. Or else it's just going to hold you up and it's going to make you make less money an hour than what you're capable of and what you're selling. You're selling work that you could do for $200 an hour, but it's taken you double the amount of time because you bought a smaller power washer. But going back to it, if you're on a budget, I'd really try to suggest trying to do, a good power washer, with a holding tank on your trailer or a skid. Try not to do too many, try not to get into, a garden hose with your power washer and wheeling around in the back of your minivan or something. So try to get a trailer at least if you can't do the skid. Spending your money on a good power washer. Honda's got the 3-year warranty. Finding a good manufacturer that's willing to back you, support you, give you the tech support that you need. We offer 24/7 tech support, which nobody else does.
Nice.
So, there's cool features about C3 and why we stand out compared to others. But going back to it, yes, if you have the money to invest, if you're willing to finance, go ahead and upgrading and spend the $25,000 if you can. I narrow it down to how much does it cost me per hour? How much am I going to make per hour? What's my billable? So there's a lot of different ways to look at it. Some people look at it like, oh, 25 grand, I'm in the hole. I owe 25 grand. How much is it going to make you per hour? If you buy the 4 gallon per minute machine, you're going to make X amount. If you buy this, yes, you're going to have to spend money hourly to pay for it, but how much more are you going to be able to make because you have the equipment now? Yeah.
A lot of this keeps drawing back. We switched the questions, the game plan of this podcast 20 hours ago.
Yeah.
We were going to do this whole topic on risks because I know he's taken a lot with the endeavors he's dabbled into, the ones he's built up, the ones that he put down and put behind him. But a lot of this is kind of drawing back to risk. I agree. If you guys are in a situation where you're picking up work, where you're confident in yourself, you are pretty sure this is going to work out. Take those risks earlier rather than later. Like I knew this was my industry, and I took too long to make that risk and get the bigger equipment, get the 2 machines and a soft wash on a trailer, the big tanks. And realistically, looking back, I could have been making much more money faster from the get-go, but it's because I didn't take a risk. And that's why this topic is so important. You guys were saying efficiency and doing it faster, but at the end of the day, it's how much money you're making per hour. How can you make that more? So last question, think hard on this one, Casey. This is going to be a tricky one.
Light bulbs.
What is the biggest mistake you've made in business, and what did you learn from it? Just so you can be more clear on the question. Any business you've done, doesn't have to be the wash business. Someone just looking to be a businessman and elevate their game. What can they learn from your biggest mistake, and what was it?
Trusting people too much, should I say. Between that, being friends with your employees was not a good business move on my part. But I'm also young, and when I started my company, I was young. I didn't know any better, so I made friends with my employees, but the respect level goes way down, and they don't know how to separate business and pleasure, and they want to be your friend no matter what. They want to be your friend on the job, and then when you have to get on them about something that they messed up, they take it personal. And it shouldn't be that way. So, biggest advice is, I'm not saying don't be friends with them, but just don't be friends and go on family vacations. Don't go out to dinner with them all the time. Try to set those boundaries. It's all about putting systems in place. Put the systems in place. Don't let them own you. And that's what it got to. In a certain part of my life and my business journey, I let the employees overtake me and own me where it should have been the other way around. And finally, my business coach kicked me in the ass and said, enough is enough, clean house and start over. And unfortunately, I had to start over a few times and I had to clean house. But just trusting others and, keep a tight grip on them. Make sure you have the right people in place. The DISC assessment has been a huge success, a part of my success, being able to judge people's personalities, putting the right people in the right job positions. Just because somebody seems like they might be a great salesperson doesn't mean they are. They might be a better admin. And they don't know it and you don't know it. But as soon as you do the DISC assessment with them and you see what their personality is, it's a game changer. So, once I started implementing that, it really helped turn around a lot of things. But right now I can walk away from my power washing and pest control company because I have the right people in it, and I spend 5% of my time in there. But everybody's been through the DISC assessment. Everybody values and treats me like, the boss, but I could also go in there and I could be friends with them. I could go to lunch with them. Trust is a big thing, but putting the right people in the right seat.
That's great advice, man. And me and JR talked about this again on the last podcast. I'll ask you, because a lot of these guys, my audience, are kind of in my situation. They're either new to the business, running one truck on themselves. They have one guy like I do who can kind of manage a lot of the labor side of things. Not a lot of them are at the point of managing their employees yet, but that's still great advice, because that's what everyone says in their business. That's what JR touched up on, is employee management. But to the guy that's in my spot looking to, that's my next step, is kind of in business terms, is getting to that next level of a few more employees. What do you recommend to someone in my spot, in their spot? What are the first things you need to focus on when you're looking to hire that next employee? You're looking to hand off that one hat and pay for it. What do you recommend?
Systems are huge. You got to hire your technician knowing that it's going to be, if you're hiring an assistant, you need to know that that assistant is capable of being a lead for the next truck or to replace you. Some guys are hiring guys without driver's license as assistant techs. That's okay if you don't plan on growing out of the truck. It's great. But if you plan on getting out of the truck and growing to the second, third, fourth truck, you need to start investing in guys that are going to be great team members and grow to lead techs. But it also comes back to answer your question, systems.
Okay.
So we have in onboarding, we have a questionnaire that we have to ask each interview. Whenever they call in, we do a phone interview. Okay. And then if they pass that quiz, we bring them in for an in-person interview. And then we have another questionnaire. And then we also implement the DISC assessment in there to see if they fit the criteria of being a lead technician or an assistant technician or an office admin. So there's also the job description, a job offer. There's so many different forms, and it comes down to checklists though. As an owner, we know it's common sense to rinse our pump out at the end of the day, right? As an employee, it isn't common sense all the time. You got to remember, they're not business owners for a reason. We are for a reason, because we think outside the box. They don't think outside the box, not all the time. Some of them do. You got to have a checklist for almost everything, and that's huge. Even as an owner operator, and you're training your technician to take over your truck, you need to be implementing the checklist as well. It's not something that you get off the truck and say, here's this checklist, I want you to do it. In their head, why? Yeah. Rusty never did it. Yeah. Why do I need to do it? Correct. That's what they're going to think. Yep. So on day one, you need to have that checklist ready. And we have a 30-point checklist they have to go through for every job. It's a before the job, middle of the job, and then after the job. It goes over how to greet the customer, what to look for. In the middle of the job, we're checking in with the customer, seeing if they have any questions or concerns, just so we meet their expectations properly. And then at the end, it goes all the way down to, did we pick up the yards, or did we put the yard sign out? Did we put the 5-arounds out? Did we get our ladder? Did we tie the ladder down? Did we ask the customer if they're willing to give us a 5-star review on Google, Facebook? Are they willing to refer us? Yeah. So there's so many different things that business owners don't even see or pay attention to, that they're just leaving out there. But if you have a checklist and your technician signs off on it, there should be no excuse on why they didn't do their job properly. Yeah. And I'm willing to give our checklist out to whoever needs it. I could send you a link to it as well, and they could put their logo on it. You guys can put your logo on it. We do a 2-part carbon copy where our technician signs off and the homeowner actually signs off.
Maybe not right away, but eventually. Check back on the video. I'll have a link for Casey's checklist. So you guys, I'm going to use it when he sends it to me, because it's super hard for people like us that care about our employees, that do have relationships with them outside of work. It's hard to be that guy that's like, it's hard to play both sides.
It is.
In the last podcast we talked about, you just have to have that relationship and respect for each other to understand that, hey, when I'm in this situation, know your role, know what I have to do. I have to do certain things so the food's on the table. Things have to get done. You have to do your job. I have to do my job. Mm-hmm. And I think with the right mutual respect, and it's not for everybody, but there can be somewhat of a balance of friendship outside of work. And then when it's inside work, this is work. You
guys hear me talk about the DISC assessment a lot. And even just in that scenario with your brother, you have to talk to each person differently. Their personalities are different. I'm very direct, open, loud, outgoing, where one of my employees might not be. So I can't walk in and start yelling, hey, yo, what's up? I have to pat him on his back. Say, hey, man, I saw what you did yesterday. Thanks for washing your truck. That was really nice of you. Thanks for doing that. So the way you approach your employees and your clients, you use the DISC assessment for both employees and clients. If you guys don't know anything about the DISC assessment, get online. There's free courses that you guys can do, which is awesome. I also advise you could do a free quiz as well to see what your personality is. Have all your team members do it with you. Spend one morning. If you guys have a couple guys, or if it's just you, even you and your spouse, it's awesome to see how your spouse is, because, for the longest time, I was just talking to my employees or my spouse the wrong way with the wrong tone. So for me to be able to see what I was doing wrong was huge. Yeah. So being able to approach people correctly and on their level and at their tone is huge. That's, once I learned the DISC assessment, that's what really helped turn my businesses around.
Nice, man. I love that you touched on the team side of things, because huge convention was the first time we met. And I noticed right away, like, your team was solid. And I knew that you put a lot of trust and faith into your team. And it was so effortlessly done. Everything from start to finish at a huge, everything was so systemized. We were all having a great time. And I'm like, just in my head the whole time, it kept coming up like, this is solid team building. From the outside looking in, it's like, yeah, so what? They were doing their job. But I know from the inside, it doesn't just get there. Like you said, disc assessments, you approach each person differently to make it operate like a smooth oiled rig.
Yeah. And once you get all the systems in place and you learn the disc assessment and you know how to treat everybody, hiring for me is easy.
Yeah.
People complain to me all the time, I can't hire anybody. I can't find any good help. Give me 24 hours and I'll have 3 brand new employees, candidates sitting there in my office ready to go. Yeah. I don't have a problem with it. If you guys are using that as an excuse, if you guys are using COVID as an excuse, you guys are just making excuses. There's no excuses out there. If you can't find a team member to come join your team, then you're doing it wrong. So step it up, get your systems in place, know how to talk to each person, set your core values, help your employees achieve their goals as well. So that's a big thing. Help them set goals. We set goals as business owners. They should be setting goals as well, whether it's seeing the football game they want to see, whether it's remodeling the bathroom, buying a house, buying a new vehicle. It could be so many different things that they need help with. They just don't know how to help or who to help. We need to be pouring that into our employees, our team members, and helping them achieve their goals. Because when they see that happen and they see that we care about them, they're going to work harder for us. They're going to want to stay with us longer. And even though we might not want them to stay with us forever, because at the end goal, there's not too many people out there that want to power wash for somebody else for the rest of their life. So if we can help them achieve their goal of going to school, to be a welder, to be whatever it is, a scientist, let's help them achieve that goal. Don't hold them back. Help them, and they're going to end up helping you even more than you can think.
There's so many free nuggets for you guys. And again, humble guy, but the numbers are numbers. He's built up very successful businesses. So this is not just fluff to take lightly. This is from years of experience. This stuff didn't just come easy to him. You've learned what systems it's took, whether that's on the labor side, the team building side. You've condensed it to make great businesses. As always, you guys, thank you for watching this video. If you made it this far into the video, drop down a comment. Let me know what you want to see next on the podcast series. Let me know what questions you want to hear. But if you guys enjoyed this video or gained value from it, please subscribe to the channel. We're all about pressure washing, paver sealing, soft washing, small business, everything in between we cover on this channel. And again, if you guys want to check out anything you see in this video, we're in South Florida. You can come to sailfishspray.com. Come to the location. We're here all the time. You guys can look at a skid ready to get put in the back of your truck. You can look at brand new trailers ready to go. You guys are always asking me how to build stuff. What should I do? What should I do? Come here and you will, 1, figure it out, and 2, have everything you need that's already on one, or you can build a custom one. And again, thank you, C3 Skids. Thank you, Casey, for joining us on this podcast.
Yeah, I appreciate it too. Thank you.